Hello everyone, Sky here. Today, let's talk about the rerun value of characters. I have already done like cones in a separate video, so if you're interested, link in the description, or you can check out the cards on the top right hand corner of the screen. So the question is, why now? As the anniversary patch is coming soon, I will expect them to run the triple banner again, just like in 2.5 and 3.0, maybe even on both halves. So I feel that this is a great time to talk about this topic. Generally, the short answer would be reruns are almost never worth it, especially DPS characters. What? But if you're playing just for your favorite characters, then this wouldn't apply to you. However, some reruns, such as supports, are worth to consider picking up. I will go as far as to talk about every limited character plus their early eidolons, so like E1, E2, so as to provide a better answer than yes, just pull the character if you want for meta. Okay, we're back here again in this place. Okay, reason why I keep coming back here is so that when I'm talking about the character, right, like example Firefly, you can see the information I'm referring to. So like let's say if I talk about the eidolons, you can see what the eidolon does. Anyways, this video will be based about if the character were to rerun now, like right now, okay? So like in 3.2 or maybe a few patches down, if they were to rerun now, should you pick them up? Alright, so let's start with Yunli, Destruction. Okay, Yunli, she's a counter character. You can say she's like Clara Pro Max or something. Should you pick her up? Well, it might be too late now because she just reran. But if you don't have a physical character, right, or if you don't have Clara build, right, I would say that she is worth picking up. Mainly because that counter characters don't really care about the weakness of the mob. They just want to have something to hit them so that they can counter back. And if you can break the mob, right, it's actually worse for them, because then there's nothing to attack them back. While Yunli has a mechanic that kind of counters this, if you know what I mean, because she has the guaranteed cow. Let's see, where is it? It's here, yeah, see? Every time she fails to do the enhanced cow, which is this one, not enhanced cow, enhanced counter, right, which is Intuit Slash, she'll always be doing a guaranteed cow after that. Whereas Clara doesn't have this. Yunli's eidolons. Okay, let's say you already have Yunli, okay? Should you get her eidolons? Let's say E1 or E2, okay? Okay, E1 is very powerful because it increases the additional damage of the cow by 3. So if we take a look here at the cow, down here, 72%. So 72% times 3, number will be on screen. I can't do math. It's actually quite a big jump from E0. So I would say if you want to vertically invest into Yunli, E1 is a good stopping point. While E2 is good, right? See, 20% defense ignore, very good, right? But the thing is, her team currently, right, there is nothing to stack defense shred. Like even if you run out of Jiao Qiu, right, Jiao Qiu has no defense shred unless you give him pearls like Kun. So I would say that currently this E2 is not as valuable as you might think it is, and E1 is probably a good stopping point. So E1, S1. If Yunli were to rerun now, okay, let's say now, okay, forget about the fact that she just rerun in the first half, okay? If she were to rerun now, right, if I already have a physical character, I probably will not pick her up. Because chances are, you could wait for the next new physical character, I don't know who, that could be better to pick up. So, Firefly is the second super break character that's ever released. She's kind of like a blast character, Boot Heal being the single target and Rappa being the AoE. Overall, at F to P investment, right, E0, S0, I would say she's the best out of the 3 to pick up. Reason being, right, even though I always say Rappa is better, because that she has the lowest investment to start a team. You see, all you need is Firefly, and then HMC, and then you just pick up a ruanmei, get a go, and you can go already. Whereas for Boot Heal and Rappa, right, for them to shine, you actually need Field and ruanmei. And if you don't want ruanmei, you need to put Field E1. So that's why Firefly is actually the lowest investment out of all the 3 super break DPS. But if you invest more, right, she will not be the best out of the 3. Okay, so now about Firefly's eidolons. Okay, both the E1 and the E2 is way better to pick up than the light cone. I explained this in the light cone video, so if you want to know why, you can go watch it. What does the E1 do? E1 gives you the 15% defense ignore, which if you stack out with a lot of the other characters in Super Break Team, you could potentially hit, I believe, 98% defense ignore, which is very close to 100. It's basically like 2% off. And it makes your enhanced skill not consume any more skill points, which makes the team, more playable. Because you see, she used skill points, Harmony MC used skill points. Then if you have Ling Sha also uses skill points, stuff like that. And then E2, basically this is, if you know about E2 deal, basically gives her an extra turn whenever she breaks or kills an enemy, which is very, very strong. Extra turn, right, is always better than no matter what kind of damage you can give to the character. And that's where I would stop. Okay, the next one, the 3 forgotten 1.x DPS. I will not pick any of them up during rerun, because currently they are just not clearing content fast enough. However, right, okay, Eidolons. Let's say you already own them, okay? Let's say you already own them. Should you get the Eidolons? Okay, first his E1, right? It's just a ultimate damage to a single enemy target. And currently the meta is AoE. So I would say this is not really worth it. And then E2, right, 15% crit rate is really good, right? But when you think about it, right, you have to put 2 copies of Blade. Do you think 2 copies of Blade just for 15% crit rate is worth over, like, let's say a 3B? Or even a D-Herter or a Casteris? I don't know what she does, but yeah. So if you're looking to vertically invest in Blade when you already have him, I would say no. I think same for Xingliu. The Eidolon one is pretty good for a single target, right? But the meta now is AoE. And this is after using ultimate increases damage to next enhanced skill by 80%. It sounds pretty good, but when you think about it, is this worth an upgrade of pulling a whole character, right, just for this small buff here for an old character? Okay, for Dio, right, it's different, okay? His E2 is pretty crazy. Like we talked about in Firefly, okay? Every time he uses his ultimate, he gains 1 extra Sacrosancta, which makes it 3 stacks, so that he uses 0 skill points, and he advances his action by 100%. So if you have an E0 Dio, right, you could consider going for E2, or if you happen to have E1 for some reason, you could consider going for E2. But know that at E0, right, you are trying to pull for 2 characters just to get to this E2. Do you think it's worth it for an old character? For me personally, I don't think it's too worth it. However, if you are E1, yeah, maybe it's worth it. But that depends on what you have on your account. If you fully invest on one character, right, on their Eidolons, they could survive for longer. And this is a pretty good E2. So you could consider, but think about the opportunity cost and the value. Is it worth going for this E2, or should you pull for the newer supports or DPS instead, rather than focusing on a 1.x character? So that's my take on Dio. Okay, Maide doesn't count. He's currently running with Ho-Ho. Okay, Han. I would say almost all of them except Fei Xiao is probably a skip at this point in time. Definitely you should not consider getting Sealy unless you like her. Then the point of this video is pointless. You don't need this video. And for Eidolons, this is trash. Why do you need a HP threshold? E2 does help with the speed boost, but again, is it worth 2 character pools? No. Topaz, if you ask me this back in like 2.2, I might say it's worth it. But now we have this character called Han March, which performs, I feel it's better than Topaz. I would say Topaz is not even worth pulling anymore. Even though this E1 is pretty good with ratio, but ratio is not gonna be good in the current meta. And we have not seen ratio's first rerun at all. So I would also not get him, because currently now the meta is AoE and he's a single target character. Okay, for ratio's Eidolons, right, this E1, okay, summation increases by 4 and then you get it for free at the start of the battle. Alright, so what is summation? Summation is this thing, this crit stat stick, okay, 10% crit rate and 20% crit damage. Because it's 4 stacks. In a follow-up attack team, right, crit damage is so abundant because you have Duran and you have Robin. This crit damage, right, 20%, right, is like nothing. It's not going to change much. This crit rate, right, 10% is really the only valuable thing that you have. So when you think about it, right, crit rate is a good stat. But is this 10% crit rate, right? And even if you take the 20% crit damage into account, right, is it worth an entire character pool? Do you think this will help your Doctor Ratio team do more damage compared to if you pull something like E1 Robin? Think about it. Do you think E1 Robin is more powerful, or you think this 10% crit rate and 20% CD from Doctor Ratio is going to be more damage? I can tell you definitely it's Robin. The same thing for this E2. Okay, this E2 it looks strong, okay? Additional damage equal to 20% of Ratio's attack, so 4 debuffs will be 80%. But again, right, E2 requires you to pull 2 copies of Ratio, or 1 copy if you happen to have E1. Do you think this 1 copy for this 20% of Ratio's attack is better than pulling E1 Robin? For example, E1 Robin, right, will not only help Ratio, it will help your Aventurine and your Topaz, or whoever you run, maybe Mose, and also Ratio at the same time, rather than you pull this one Eidolon, right, that is just for Ratio. So that's my take on Ratio's Eidolons. Alright, now let's go to the 2 more recent characters, Fei Xiao. While this is still an AoE meta, Fei Xiao is still extremely good in APOC. So if she were to rerun, and if you don't have a good single target character, I would say she is worth picking up right now. Same for her Eidolons, up to E2, they're pretty good. Especially E2, helps you stack faster in a follow-up attack team. Boot Heal, however, he could still be good at APOC. He does have really high single target damage. But outside of APOC like Fei Xiao, right, they may not be as good because of the AoE meta. His E1, it's pretty good. Defense ignore, again, super break, right? They have a lot of defense ignore, especially if you E1 like all of them. And gets this extra pocket street shot, which, if you ask me, right, it's nothing if you have Field. Because with Field now, right, he can instantly get all 3 stacks. So this first part, right, it's not very important anymore. However, before Field, right, you can say it's probably important, but that's not important now. And then for E2, it makes him, less taxing on the skill points, more comfortable with your SP. And his break effect is it's small. So if you do own Boot Heal, you could consider for his Eidolons, but do note of the current meta. Now it's AoE. If you find that using these Hunt characters, right, these 2, okay, the rest I don't think they're going to be very impactful. If you think that they still work for you, despite the current meta is AoE, then go for them. Because their Eidolons are not bad. That's for their vertical investment, by the way. Alright, Erudition. Basically the current meta. So, am I gonna just say that they're all worth it? No. Probably not. Okay. Jade, right? I'm gonna be serious with you guys, okay? Hot take. I feel like, right, she's one of the characters that Hoyoverse failed to make properly. What? Her multipliers aren't that crazy. Okay, her E1 lets her run with single target, which is really not really important anymore. E2 is just crit rate. She needs crit rate, but do you think it's worth pulling a whole 2 characters just for this 18 crit rate? I don't think so. Yeah, and the multipliers are not that great. Also, an XR is coming, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be the Jade replacement. So if Jade were to rerun now, unless you are struggling with PF, right? But although if you're struggling with PF, I think you should just wait for the Hurter. But let's say if you don't like Hurter, okay? Unless you're struggling with PF, right, I will not pick up Jade on rerun at all. I don't think she's worth it. Okay, for Rappa, to me, she's the best super break DPS, okay? And now the meta is AoE. Even though it's not break favored, Rappa does do pretty well simply because of the fact that she is an AoE super break character. And she has the ability to ignore the weakness. Let me see, where is it?
1 eternity later.
Yep, here. This damage can ignore weakness types to reduce the toughness, but do note that it's only 50%. So in a way, imaginary or not, she kinda still works because the meta is currently AoE. Okay, for Rappa's Eidolons, right, okay, the E1 ignores 15% defense, and when exiting, you get 20 energy. On paper, right, it looks like, it's very mediocre. But when you think about it, okay, Super Break has a lot of defense shred stacking. So this is pretty good. And this is like to help her maintain her out state. Although with Field, right, this is less important. And for E2, okay, it says first 2 hits, so the third hit doesn't count, right? However, right, this does help with her breaking to get the charge, especially if you're against a single target character, right? The first 2 hits having higher weakness breaking efficiency, it does help, even though it doesn't have the third hit to help you increase the damage. But I would stay at E0 actually, because I feel like these 2 pulls, right, it's much better to go for field, or even go for field E1, or even go for field E2, or even get ruanmei. That's what I feel. I probably would not get Rappa's Eidolons if I were to pull again. So, would I get Rappa? If you don't have Super Break and you want to try Super Break, I would say she's the character right now you should pick up instead of Firefly and Blue. But that's just my opinion. Okay, before we go to D-Hurter, okay, Jingyuan. Our general, the man that keeps getting buffed every patch. So as a 1.x characters, right, their Eidolons are probably, they're not great. So I would not get the Eidolons. However, if you have Sunday, he is somewhat playable. Not really like super meta, but he's somewhat playable. If you don't have Sunday, I would not pick him up at all. Do note that as an Erudition character, right, there are better Eruditions like, you know, these 2. Or even Jade, to be honest. Like Jade don't even need quantum weakness. And then Argenty, he does have a bit more value now because of his 90 outcore, so he can actually be ran as a Hurter battery. But know that Anexa is coming. And if you have Jade, you don't really want to run Argenty. Argenty, the Eidolons, they're trash. Don't even bother. And yeah, finally, D-Hurter. Okay. If you're struggling with AoE, she's definitely the character that you want to pick up. Firstly, because she's an Emanator. They're going to last longer, definitely. As you've seen with Acheron, she's still surviving right now. And her Eidolons, I would say this E2 is kinda crazy. 35% action advance, not 100%, but it's still an action advance. And this allows you to, you know, stack interpretation faster because it doesn't reset to 1, it resets to 15. So Eidolons are kinda worth picking up. And yeah, out of all of these, right, if you really need one Erudition character to pick up, right, I would say D-Hurter, without a doubt. And if you want to, then consider Rappa. The rest, probably not at current. Okay, Harmony. Okay, this is gonna be really easy, okay? I'm sorry if this is slender to you, but every Harmony is worth picking up as a Sparkle. Okay, let's be real, okay? I'll talk a bit more, okay? Ruanmei, right, if you play Super Break, just pick it up. Unless you have E1 field. That's all. Sparkle, she really, literally, right, she really got slandered, not by me, but by Hoyo. Because Sunday was literally a better Sparkle. Not just better, it's so much better. And they do almost the same thing. The fact that Sunday generates more SP than her is kinda crazy, honestly. Like, I can't believe they did that. Yeah, and Robin, currently, the meta is currently moving towards HP. So, you will find that she has less value for the new characters. But, for older characters, right, she's still very valuable. And, okay, I don't want to say this, but, you know, I'm not going to sugarcoat this just because I like Ruanmei. She is better than Ruanmei. What? Without a doubt. But not at E0 as you. At E1 maybe. Now you could argue with this saying that Ruanmei's buffs are not as powerful as Robin. But when you think about this, right, okay, I don't want to talk about Ruanmei versus Robin again for 20 minutes, but E0 S0 Robin, right, is going to have energy issues unless you do 2 things, okay? You run a Abundance with Quick Pro Core, or you run Ho. And the Abundance that you want to run with Quick Pro Core, right, would be Gallagher. And what are the odds that you are able to run both of them in the same team? What if you need Gallagher for the other team? You know, think about it. And let's say if you cannot fulfill these conditions, or if you don't have a Bronya Light Cone to fix her energy at E0 S0, she cannot maintain her out uptime, and she's going to spend some time idling. And while she's not in her out uptime, do you think she's better than Ruanmei, who can literally get a turn 1 out, can build slow to maintain a 100% out uptime, don't even need her signature LC to maintain 3 turn out, which is basically 100% out uptime?
2,000 years later.
I don't think that she's better than Ruanmei at E0 S0 when you have no way to control her energy. If you have a way to control her energy at E0 S0, then yes, she's better than Ruanmei. And she also doesn't have the rest band unless you put E1, which Ruanmei has it at E0 S0. So okay, I hope this is the last time to talk about Ruanmei versus Robin. And yeah, Sunday is a better Sparkle. And 3B, currently, right, current meta, because it's going towards HP scaling and then, you know, it's AoE, she is the best Harmony right now. During the rerun, her next rerun, rather it's her first rerun, you should pick her up if you don't have her. Okay, Eidolons. Okay, ignore this E6, okay. Ruanmei, right, very simple. Get E1 if you play Super Break, if not, forget it. Sparkle, let's say you have her already, right? You want to get her Eidolons for some reason. Maybe you love Sparkle, you hate Man, you hate Sunday, okay, sure. If you're not going for E2, don't bother. The E1 is trash. Okay, Robin, E1 and E2 are both worth it. E1, 24% all-type rest spend, very strong. And then E2, energy regeneration by 1 and the 16% speed, which is very, very good. Sunday, I would say only the E1. The E2 is like, I don't think you really need this. The E1 is for the defense ignore, but there's not many Memo Sprite characters right now. In the future, this value might go up. Okay, 3B's E1, okay, I talked about this before, okay. It's very controversial. This E1, right, in that video, is very good, okay. But do note that it's only really, really good in AoE. But however, okay, I have this comment from Grace, okay. I'll put it on screen, okay. They make a very good point, okay. It's worth noting that 3B and Robin's E1 is practically the same in terms of value and cost, which is correct. In cost, okay? In value also. If you are in a single target scenario, this is true. Because one target, right, is still 24%, and then Robin is 24% rest spend. Okay, it's similar. But right, I want to say this, okay? True damage, right? Non-type damage that is not affected by any effects. The damage is not considered as using one attack. True damage, right, is basically equal to the damage, right, of how much you deal, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong, okay? However, Robin's, when she's in the outstate, right, when she attacks, right, the damage is based on Robin. Do you get what I mean? So if your support characters try and use this 3B E1, right, it might not hit as high as if your DPS uses it. That's all I have to say, okay? But both this and Robin's E1, they are both good. They are same value, like what Grace says. And the difference comes down to the team itself, if they benefit from Robin or 3B more. Some people have the power to run both of them without sustain, like Zero Cycling, but some don't, and they have both 3B and Robin. We only can have 4 characters in the team after all, and a sustain is crucial for almost every player who isn't Zero Cycling. Which is also true, because if you don't Zero Cycle, obviously you're going to run a sustain, right? Because you don't want to fail. Let's say a person has Space Xiao and any Super Break character as the main DPS for any content and put E1 3B. This won't benefit them very much, because single target and Break have better options. Not that it doesn't work, okay, it works, but it will not be as good. And yes, every account is different. Anyway, Grace, I appreciate your comments every time. I do read the whole thing. Thank you for your comments if you're watching this video. That's all for Harmony. Okay, Nihility, where half of the characters are basically dead. Because, where is Dot? Buff. Where is it? Not found. Every time a new Nihility character come out, Dot buff? No. Dot buff? No. Never a Dot buff. So, I would say currently, right, Dot characters, Kafka and Black Swan, okay, not worth pulling. Because Dot is dead. However, okay, let's say Dot were to be alive next patch. Or even 3.3, I don't know, okay, let's say, okay. Your first priority, right, is not Black Swan. Your first priority should be Kafka. Even though she's a 1.x character. Do you know why? Because Kafka is the only character in the game right now that can trigger all dots. That's why Kafka has the highest value in the dot team. And for Eidolons, E1 is a dot vulnerability. Okay? Increase the dot received, so it's a vulnerability. And then E2 is a team-wide dot increase. So if dot were to ever come back, right, both of Kafka's by Eidolons, they are kind of worth. However, right, depending on how Dot comes back, right, who knows whether Kafka is still available? We don't know. Maybe they create a better Kafka, higher multipliers that does almost the same thing, which I doubt. Okay, that will be slander to Kafka, just like Sparkle was to Sunday. Unless they create a better Kafka that is so good that running Black Swan with them is better than running Kafka with them, then I would say Kafka is no longer valuable. And for Black Swan, the biggest problem I have with Black Swan is her stacks resetting back to 1. And it's not very easy to stack up to 50. Wait, no, don't look at this. Anyway, Black Swan E1, 25% rest down is very good. If let's say you can still fit Black Swan into the team, E1 is worth picking up. Anything beyond, I would say, is more of a luxury. E2 is good in pure fiction. And that's about it, honestly. So I will stop at E1. Okay, Field. The character that people like to say is ruanmei replacement, but she's not, okay. Anyways, Field, okay, is not really a Nihility character. She's just a super break support. Let's be real. And if you're still playing super break, right, you really should pick her up. Because if you don't, then how are you going to play super break? Because your MC needs to be Remembrance, right? Usually, you run RMC in the current meta. So if your MC is Remembrance, then you cannot use HMC. Then what do? You can't play super break. You need Field. Okay, so I have talked about this Field and ruanmei. It's gonna be really tiring to talk about it again. This E1, it is a good E1. Okay, it is very good. You can pick it up if you have Field. But do note that this weakness breaking efficiency is only for one character.
What?
So if you give it to Firefly, your Lingsha, your Field, your Gallagher, your whoever else you run with, maybe your HMC, they are not going to have this weakness breaking efficiency. Which previously, if you ran ruanmei, everybody would have it. And super break team that cannot break, right, it doesn't matter how much damage you give to them. If they can't break, they do no damage. Okay, then you might be saying, what do you mean they can't break? Obviously they will break eventually, right? Yeah, they will. But how quick? You think about it. Okay, can this Eidolon replace ruanmei? I would say you could. But at the end of the day, right, don't forget, right, one ally target, and then you lose everything that ruanmei gives you. 25% rest span, team-wide speed buff, and weakness breaking efficiency to the rest of your team, as well as the Tenet Totem Rebloom, which is the extra break delay. Okay, E2 is really powerful. If you want to go for E2, sure, if you play super break. This fixes her energy issues, and this is basically a free dance like one. And that's it for Field, you know. Play super break, pick up. Okay, Eidolons are worth it. Now let's go to Jiao first, okay. He's kind of a dot character, you would think, right? But his dot kinda sucks unless you get E2. But when you think about it, right, do you think it's worth pulling 3 characters just to run I would say a dot team that's not even good right now? Or would it be better to save these pools, right, for a new character that could fix dot? I don't know who. Someone that might be coming. Soon? I don't know, so I hope it's soon. I would say Jiao's only use right now is currently to run with Ekron. But if you have an E2 Ekron, right, I would say it's not as valuable. Reason being, right, when you think about it, right, while the stack generation is way better, right, E2 Ekron can clear fine with Bella. I have skipped Jiao myself, and I do find that running with Bella is still fine. I can still clear within 5 cycles. I know some people say you can run with Field. I have actually tried, it's actually not bad. But when you think about it, right, you're not going to pull Field for Acheron. You're pulling Field for Super Break. So the chances of you running Field with Acheron, right, is very close to 0. So I would not consider Field as a Acheron, like, you know, actual teammate. I would say it's more of like for fun. Unless for some reason your other team is not running Super Break, then sure, run Field with Acheron. It works. And yeah, his E1 is not bad, but again, is it really worth investing into Jiao just for your Acheron. If you main Acheron, sure. If you are Acheron main and you have E2, I would say you can probably cope by not getting him, because it's not as effective as running him with an E0 Acheron. And at the end of the day, right, if you want to get Jiao Qiu and even get his Eidolons, right, why not just get E2 Acheron and then just run with Pella? You'll be fine. For me, I am going to pick him up on a rerun whenever he reruns, just so I can do showcases. So that's in case if you wonder why I'm talking about skipping Jiao Qiu and I still pull him. Okay. Alright, the last character, Silver Wolf, I would say just don't pick her up at all. Her use case currently, right, it's almost non-existent, with a lot of DPS being able to either ignore weakness or being able to implant their own weakness. And if you happen to have Silver Wolf and you want to upgrade Silver Wolf for some reason, right, the only thing I would pull for is the E1 to make the energy better. And that's all. This is, I guess it allows you to build less effective E rate, but it's not worth a pull. But other than that, I will not pull for Silver Wolf. Unless they somehow buff Silver Wolf, because they said they're going to buff all characters. Real or not, or cap, I don't know. Okay, now Acheron. I forgot to talk about Acheron. Acheron, the emanator of Nihility. Sorry with these spoilers, but you know, Penacony was last year. Is she worth picking up right now? While she's not as powerful as when she first came out, right, do note that she is still an Erudition character in disguise, and currently we are playing an Erudition meta. So if she were to rerun now, right, and you love Acheron, sure, you can pick her. But for a character for AoE meta, right, I would not pick Acheron, but I would rather pick the newer character, D-Herter, which works better in AoE. But however, let's say if you have E0 Acheron, right, and you want to upgrade her further, okay, don't bother going for E1. Go straight for E2. If you cannot go for E2, then just don't do it. The same reason as I talk about Jiao Qiu, instead of getting Jiao Qiu, right, you might as well just get E2 Acheron. The E1 is not good, as you see. It's just 18% crit rate. It's not worth one pull. You either go for E2 or you just don't go, and you just spend your pulls on another new character. Yeah, that's about it. Okay, Preservation, very simple, very set for full Shen, but there's no contest. If you want to pick up a Preservation character, Aventurine, and that's about it. Do not get his Eidolons. You might feel that this is good because it makes him more skill point positive, 20% crit damage, but I'm gonna tell you, crit damage is so inflated in follow-up attack teams. Even if you don't run follow-up attack teams, Robin does give this 20% crit damage. And this quality of life, right, after using ultimate, right, you might feel like, oh, it's good, you know, makes him skill point positive, but ask yourself, is it worth wasting one pull on a sustain just to make him feel more comfortable? Or you can do this thing, okay, build him better and use this pull on a new Harmony Eidolon, or even a new character. That's going to be way better. The faster you clear, the better, right? The less you have problem with sustain. Agree? It's a fact, you know. So E0, S0 Aventurine is good enough. Okay, last but not least, Abundance. I have talked about Abundance so many times already. So the rule of thumb is, if you have 2 limited, don't bother picking up a third. However, right, this rule crumbles if your sustains are no longer able to keep your team alive. Like Ho Ho. Then you consider pulling a third. But do note that you're wasting your Jades on a sustain just to keep your team alive, when you could probably pull for a new character, right, or a new Harmony to help you clear faster. You see, if you clear faster, right, then you don't need to sustain as hard. You know, you get what I mean? Or you can even cope using Gallagher. Let's say you got Gallagher and Lingsha, right, for some reason. Then you just use Gallagher and Lingsha, you're fine. Because now only got 2 team content, there's no 3 team content or anything. And Gallagher is very universal, so is Lingsha. They can work in many teams. If, however, your sustain is something like Luo Cha and Pai Lu, right, then you can consider picking up a second sustain, because Pai Lu is a standard character and she can't cleanse. And as for Eidolons, right, don't bother getting Luo Cha's Eidolons. You know, it's 20% attack is nothing. Like, what is this? More healing? A shield? Just get Aventurine at this point. And for Lingsha, right, okay, if you play Break, right, E1, it makes her a different character. It is so good. Do not get baited by this E2, okay? 40% Break effect, right? It's gonna change nothing. And for Ho Ho, I have talked about this in the Ho Ho video, okay? This is a good Eidolon, but think about it, in 2025, right, is it worth wasting a pool just to make Ho Ho SP positive and 12% speed? You might as well just get a new Harmony like 3B or something. Get E1 3B and just obliterate the content. Don't even have to worry if Huo gives you 1 extra turn of speed or whatever. It doesn't matter. Just clear faster. Then you don't need to worry about whether your sustain is good or not, right? Can you argue with that? No, right? You could say you want to get the best sustain to fit the team. Sure, you can fit the team. But at the end of the day, right, you think it's a better upgrade than pulling a new character? Or even vertically investing. Like, let's say Super Brick, right? You want Ling Sha when you can just use Gallagher. Correct. You think it's worth picking up Ling Sha for Brick? Or is it better to just go for like E2 Firefly and clear faster? Think about it. Same thing with Huo. The energy and all that. You know, you pick her up, right? E0, S0, right? Is it better to make your skill points more positive? Or is it better to spend that 1-2 on a limited character to make your... Who does Huo run nowadays? Like Yunli. Maybe you get Yunli E1 is better. Then worry about if your skill points are struggling, you know? That's my 2 cents. Okay, I forgot to scroll down to Remembrance. There's still Eglaia. I'm sorry I forgot about you.
Is that fear I sense?
Okay, Eglaia, the very first Remembrance character. The character that people say is unplayable without E1, without Light Cone, without Sunday, without Robin, without Huo, no so on and so forth. Which I have proven that she only needs Sunday in one of my videos, why Eglaia is overly doom posted. You can watch that if you're interested. She's a strong character. Okay, don't get me wrong. She's a strong character, provided if you have Sunday. And it is still early in the Amphorus arc to tell whether she will be worth picking up a rerun. In the first place, she's not going to rerun anytime soon, just like Dioto, because you are still at the beginning. But at this point, right, a new artifact could be the planner, because in the first place, the planner doesn't even apply to the Memo Sprite. And that banana planner is the only planner she can use right now. They could come out a new planner that could buff Eglaia. They could come out a new support that could buff Eglaia. You can say I'm hoping, but you know, nobody knows what MiHoYo is going to release in the future. They could realize, oh, maybe it was a mistake to release Eglaia like this. Let's do something to buff her. We don't know. Like, you know, Qingyuan gets buffed like every patch. But I would say at this point, right, if she were to rerun now, okay, which, if you like her, then sure. If not, right, then I would say D-Herter would be a better pickup. Simply because it's not that D-Herter is stronger than Eglaia or Eglaia is too weak. Eglaia requires Sunday, whereas D-Herter only requires free-to-play characters to function. The cost to build the D-Herter team is way lower than to build an Eglaia team. So, at this point in time, right, she's not as valuable as D-Herter. Okay, for Eidolons, E1 is good, gives her the 20 energy to maintain her outstate. Again, not unplayable without it. E2, stacking defense threat, very good if you have E1 Sunday. And that is all I have to say about Eglaia. Okay, in conclusion, think carefully before going for reruns. Is the value of that older character worth it over something that's upcoming or new? Is the Eidolon upgrade of an older character worth it over the newer characters? In some cases, yes, maybe. But with the direction of these games never ending power creep and HP inflation, unless MiHoYo does something about it, we can't deny that pulling for the newest character is usually the better way to go than getting reruns. However, this can be a problem if we invest in too many niche, such as we have Super Break, we have Follow Up, we have Hyper Carry, we have Remembrance, we got too many teams. And then we never complete the teams. By completing, I mean getting essential characters such as Robin to Fei Xiao, Ruanmei and Field to Super Break, Sunday to Eglaia, pulling like a 3B for your Harmony slot, you know, etc, etc. But yeah, food for thought. That is all for this video. Thank you for taking your time to watch it. I appreciate all feedback. Take care and have a good day. Bye bye.